Hi everyone. So we are here to talk about our annual day that is coming up and also connect it to a larger theme of this year. So at Sparkling Minds, we have an annual theme, and this year our theme was the power within me. And in connection to the theme, we generally select a largish story or a legend or an autobiography that could actually inspire children through the year. And there are lots of different events that transpire through the year which connects to this larger theme of power within me. So this year, when we were discussing and we were thinking about what could be that story that could inspire children, we ended up picking
Lord of the Rings, and let's just go back into why. So when I saw Lord of the Rings, I think the entire way that it was so centrally themed on power and various interpretations of power, and how I saw it like there's this ring which has so much power over different kinds of races and different kinds of people. And I saw that, but eventually, if we don't have power within us, we're not able to really wield that power, or even if we're able to wield that power, it ends up creating even more destruction, more corruption. And I thought it would be amazing to bring something to children which has the potential for interpretation, for having discussions, because for us it's not about didactically saying, that, oh, this is power within, or saying something which is a truism, but really to have rich discussions with children. And I wanted to bring it, and we wanted to ask children that, so is the power within me important? Is power linked to corruption? So then should we not aspire to power? And then there's the other reaction, which I saw as the hobbits and the shires kind of also could be interpreted as then maybe is it then naive, or does it have to be isolated? What is it that's making the hobbits not aspire to power? Is that a different kind of power within? So to just bring all these rich discussions is one of the reasons. The second reason is that it is a legend, and legends, by the way, even in the theme book, they have read a lot of different kinds of legends from Hindu mythology, from Greek mythology. And legends tell the story of a hero and the hero's journey, right? How the hero is has a call to action, needs to rise up to a challenge and then take that. So by nature, also legends really contribute to discussions on power within me. So we saw that will match. And the third thing is that in Lord of the Rings, there are so many characters. True. And they're all central characters. Like, and they're not very typical central characters. True. And different settings. So we always want to explore something where there is scope for a lot of different children to play different characters, for children even not playing, but to connect with different characters. True. And then I remember when we were talking about different characters, you had a realization, right? About how the ring.
Right. And that the fact that it is not, the characters all can have lots of central space and lots of space to be, because it's the ring which is actually the main character. It's just the schema in the entire legendarium. The power which the ring wields is the central character actually. There's a central theme, and all the characters revolve around that. So there's a lot of space for a lot of drama to happen, and hence, which is something very exciting for us, right? We were talking about how each area, the realm, can have so much setting, so much costume, so much space for children to do digital literacy, right? So it was very exciting for us to include all of that and bring that richness to children. And in more ways than one, it connects to almost all our missions. So our children do these change-making missions in the year, and the richness of the culture that Tolkien has built into each of the realms, in fact going to an extent of creating the language and very distinct characteristics for each of those realms, enables us to talk about community stories and practices and culturally rich contexts with children. There is also very clear demarcation between, what naivete and what vulnerability can look like versus what invulnerability can create and what malintention can create, in terms of power. There is also clear understanding, when the dwarves are mining and digging and then releasing the monster, clearly connected to Trui and our Earth's climate-related mission. And the whole thing, the gluttonous dwarves, the healing elves, connecting to health and our SM plates mission, overall felt like children will have a very rich exposure this year. So we were very excited about Lord of the Rings. And what about the other legends and mythologies, and where does all of that fit into this?
So, so all legends, right? First of all mythologies, they share something in common. They're all these.
Where do all the wait, wait, wait. Where do all the legends and mythologies? See, India is a very culturally rich country, right? And the East in general has a lot of culture of its own. I'm very inspired by Chinese culture, and there is the East Asian culture, there's Japanese culture, right? There's so much culture actually embedded within our space, and Tolkien is, in fact, in some ways, trying to create a legend for England. So why adopt that? Why not use one of our cultural stories? So why and how does it connect, basically? What about the extension to other legends? And why did we pick this?
So actually any legend connects, because any legend is the story of a hero above the ordinary, that rises above the ordinary. Now, this above the ordinary can have different interpretations. Like in Tolkien's one, he's actually showing the ordinary as above the ordinary, because he's saying that daily resilience is the thing. Sometimes it could be strength. Sometimes it could be, being aware of one's strengths, like in Hanuman's case. Sometimes it could be the tempest within. There is something within that I have to overpower, like in Hercules. So, but every legend is by being the story of a hero who's rising above some challenges, does definitely touch the theme of power within me. So for these certain reasons about the setting and the various connections, we chose Lord of the Rings, but it is not restricted to Lord of the Rings. Right. Any hero from any legend, and all mythologies are so they have so many interleaved stories that there is so much potential for exploration, and so much potential for greyness of a character, because each character is not static only in that story's thread, but has a backstory of their own. So each character has their story, just like life is, So you really have so many ways to interpret and bring out in that context and situation how is a particular character wielding their power. Like Mahabharata, if you say from Draupadi's perspective, it will reveal to you something very different. It's a perspective shift. It's not like the story is like this or like that. It's a perspective shift, and that shifts so much. So all myths and legends, according to me, do connect, and we actually want to. We don't want it to be restricted to Lord of the Rings. We want to invite characters, inspiring heroes from other legends, from other cultures.
Yes, and we would like parents and people who are going to come visit our event to come dressed up as their superhero characters, their favorite mythology characters, legends that they're really connected to, and bring with them the inspiration to connect those to the missions that children are watching, children are working. Connect those to the missions that children are working on, and we're really excited to see each one of you. This brings me to the point of, like we were talking about why we chose Lord of the Rings, and these are books that our children love to read. Okay. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, the Divergent series, Percy Jackson. Our children love to read these books, but you see, they read it at one level, right? There is this drama that they're seeing. There is this person going after this person. Then there is this thing happening. The underlying theme of, how is the power over me, playing or wreaking havoc in that situation, and how is the hero using the power within, and what is leading to build up that, right, is many times lost in that drama and that adrenaline rush. And we really wanted to take a patient reading back to children, feel the book and the construct back to them,
and also question it. Just because, so it's written in a context, right? Tolkien is writing this in 1940, after the war, after World War II, or during the World War II. It's written in a context, and what power might mean then. And so many mythologies are much older. And in that time's context, for them to see what power might have meant, does it mean the same today? If the hero looked like that at that time, does it have to look So for them to draw a connection to their life and then be able to question is something so important and can only be done through this very deep and yet emergent kind of reading.
Yes, and it gives such rich opportunities. So I want to talk about a couple of opportunities that have emerged for us this year because we've done this work. Is that we first introduced Power Within Me, and we took a lot of adversities back to our children. Like there was a day without water, there was a day without anybody guiding them on what needs to be done, right? And they rose up to the power to the challenge at every single point of time, discovering the powers within them, discovering their tendencies, discovering what kind of fear and what kind of anxiety holds power over them. And in that process, discovering where boundaries are, how do I really many of them discovered how entitled they are and how privileged they are, right? And that whole process, step by step, leading up to this process of discovering and deploying the powers within them in this year, right? That has been a very, very important journey for us. And through the discussions that we've had with children in the library, we've been building up this book with them. Children asked us beautiful questions. I would like to share some of them. So one of the questions they asked us that is, so should we never aspire to great power? Because, it looks like great power leads to corruption, leads to great evil.
Yes.
Share some
That was one of the questions. The other one was also, I remember when we were discussing the Shire and how it is isolated across the river and it's a very self-contained sort of place, which is amazing. It helps them not have greed or be prone to corruption. But then, so do we have to be secluded to be safe or to be incorruptible in that sense? Do we need to be secluded? Can we be in the world and yet be immune to something that has power over us?
And what does it take to manage that kind of power over me? And what kind of powers do we need to cultivate within us? And there was a very interesting question. We've been talking about how we're living in times of abundance, right? There's no war, there's no immediate threat, right? Which is very visible. So it is very easy to relax. It's very easy to feel complacent. It's very easy to feel entitled. All of this has to be this way. And what if the world turned out to be different, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, and our children have experienced something sufficiently surreal like COVID, right? Like nobody expected something like that. And for little children to walk through something like that, and they come back from that and we question them on yes, you're living in abundance, but really, can you take all of this for granted? And then one of them asked, so is abundance the greatest evil because we become complacent in abundance, and then that leads to more evil to happen? So all of these questions and more.
Hey, there's one more really central question that I remembered is that lots of children have asked that why Frodo or how did Gandalf choose Frodo, which is such a beautiful question. Also in this context, also in their context, in some ways they're asking, why me? Could somebody choose me? Is it our heroes? They're actually saying, are heroes born
or made?
Are they made? And it is so true, not just for this legend, for any legend. If you take any legend, take any myth and ask, why is that person the hero?
Yes.
Right? Why did they get the call to adventure or call to action, the call to rise? What makes them the hero? Right?
Yes, and being young change makers, for our children to ask that question was so endearing. I tell them, all the anxiety that you feel, will I get to do this part, not do this part, actually shows to me you care. You really care about doing your bit and worry sometimes, about that being taken away. So instead of worrying, can you replace it with some power? A power of calming, a power of ownership, a power of connection, a power of trust within myself. Power of honesty. And children came up with all of these things. They said, we get anxious, we get fearful, we get worried, and what can you replace it with? And that has been a beautiful journey this year for us on peeling the layers of power within me, using the context of Lord of the Rings. And we are really excited to bring to you this production and inviting all of you to come participate and be a part of this entire journey. This year we have donor passes for people who are watching us and want to be part of this event. Please do come, and
these donor passes, all the proceeds from these donor passes, like we've been talking about the Changemaker missions and all the connections that even the story is making to all the missions, and what I don't want to give away everything we're saying, but so all the proceeds, but from these donor passes, they go towards their fundraising for the change maker missions.
Yeah, that children are part of. And what we're really looking forward to is for each one of you to come and see the reimagination of Lord of the Rings in our current times, of the times that our children live in, and how the legend lives and breathes and moves through time. What would each of these characters do? Leaving that to suspense. We really look forward to seeing each one of you.